went to the island of Lombok. Lombok is the next island east of Bali, and it's like Bali was 30 years ago. Unspoiled, beautiful beaches. A lot of the Australians discovered it for surfing on one side of the island where the Indian Ocean goes, and then on the Java Sea, which is a much gentler body of water or ocean. That's where we have stayed, and it's just, it's really gorgeous and very peaceful. It's like the world stops. No politics, no nothing. It's just.
Well, I think that's what people would like, but of course, when you get into various larger areas where there's a lot of trade and commerce and globalization, you get away from the basic life and you get involved in all of these controversies.
Well, even the Indonesians will vacation on Lombok.
Really?
The Indonesians know it well. A lot of them, when I'll meet them, and if they're speaking English, they'll say, "Oh, have you been to Lombok?"
So let me interrupt you, Bill.
Yep,
and Hani, I'd like you to give the last words. What do you want us to know about Indonesia, most of all?
What I want to say is, I hope that our discussion today will give a better understanding about Indonesia, and I will suggest that people will visit Indonesia to witness themselves what is in Indonesia.
Welcome to the Eye on the Twin State Valley. My name is Halford E. Jones, and today my guests are Bill Von Gillen and Hani Von Gillen. And today we're going to be discussing Indonesia and a number of other topics. Selamat datang.
Terima kasih.
Yeah, good to be here.
Glad to. And do you speak Indonesian at all, Bill?
Very little. I do better when I'm there. I start picking up things.
Yes, I would think so. That's about the extent of my Indonesian. Tell me, what made the two of you come to the Twin State Valley and also settle in Claremont, New Hampshire?
My story's a little longer. I'm originally from Chicago. I moved to Charlestown in 1974. And went through life from all that time, and then moved to Claremont in 2000. And about 2004, on a basically it's a sharing of countries, not a dating site. You know, my country's like this. We have this kind of topography. This is our political system, things of that nature. I met Hani, and we shared both our countries, Hani being from Indonesia, and we started to, get to know each other better beyond the countries. And so I decided at one point, finally, I'm going to get on a plane and fly to Indonesia, and that's what I did.
I see. And so, why did you decide, though, to settle down here in Claremont? Because of your work and your home base here, let's say?
Pretty much so. I was the music director, band director at the Wethersfield School for 28 years, 1984 to, I guess, 2012, 2011, something like that, and retired. But anyway, that was where I was from, and that was my home base, and that was my work, as well as teaching, playing with various different kinds of musical ensembles, music writing, arranging, and scoring. And so...
Well, it seems to me you had played in different orchestras and bands in this area.
Yes, I did.
And so now you're retired from teaching, and what I believe anyway, or are you still teaching?
I'm retired from school teaching,
Okay.
But I do have private students, and I do play occasionally. I'm also the director of music at the Charlestown Congregational Church.
I see. And Hani, what is your work? What do you do?
Right now, currently, I work as a kindergarten aide at Cornish Elementary School.
Oh,
And
really?
this is my second year there.
I see. And did you have a background in education in Indonesia, or?
No, my study actually animal husbandry, but before I came here, there's one time that I worked with children before, actually with autistic children in Indonesia. Yeah.
I see. Tell me, let's talk a little bit about Indonesian cuisine. Are you fond of curries, Bill?
I'll answer that sort of by saying, whenever I'd approach the food, or the food approached me, Hani and her family were very careful that the food would not destroy my American palate.
Oh, really?
And I started to, there are things that I really, really do like. If the curry isn't too spicy, I've gotten a little better at handling the spice, but their spices, the Mexican spices they sell here and what they say is hot, it's not even close to what's hot there.
I learned to eat Hindu or Indian curries, and when I was in New Jersey, and later with a friend of mine from New Jersey also, we went to Amsterdam, to Holland, and he had a classmate that was from Indonesia that went to Drew University where he went. He majored in German, by the way. And so we visited the family there, and that's where I learned to like and enjoy Indonesian curries, and they really were hot, and they were right from Indonesia, these people, and so I became interested in things like that. And of course, as you know, the Dutch were once colonizers of Indonesia.
Yes, Indonesia was under Dutch for 350 years.
And sometimes the Dutch were very harsh and brutal, as I understand it.
Well, that's what I heard. That's what I learned from the history. Yes.
I see. The people of Indonesia wear traditional dress, and you were showing me some of these here. Would you give us a little?
Yes, this is batik from Indonesia. This is the traditional design from Central Java. And then currently, about maybe a decade ago, after our nation started to copy and produce the batik from Indonesia, and almost every region in Indonesia have their own batik, produce their own batik. This is like this is the batik from Madura, and this is
Yeah.
See right here, it's a contemporary motif batik of Indonesia.
Madura is an island just north and off the coast of like Surabaya.
Yeah, it's a part of East Java province, but it is in a separate islands.
Now, this process of batik has been copied by other Asian countries and other people around the world. And doesn't that consist of using a hot wax or a hot...
Yes.
And what does the wax do? Does that separate the colors, or do you go around the wax, or how does it work?
Actually, I don't really know how the process of making batik, but I learned a little bit that if you want to use different color on the batik on the fabric, then you use the wax to cover the existed color.
Oh,
and
I
then you do put the new color on.
New color
Yeah.
on, and that you have to fit it in the design
Yes.
that's on there.
Yes.
Now, you were telling me that men also wear these
Yes.
particular things.
This
Now, there
is-
are other colors, are there not?
Oh
Other
yeah.
weaves?
Yes. Yes. This is traditionally Indonesian men will wear this.
Well, how would I wear that? Can you fit that to me? The reason I ask is because I have some friends that are practitioners of silat.
Yeah.
And everybody there wears the same. Oh, I
So
have
you're
to
gonna, yeah.
take off my jacket, and we'll try that on. Well,
Okay, you have to wear it over like here, like this, and then,
oh, I see. It goes over the shoulder.
yeah. Oops.
Does it?
Yeah. Okay, and then okay, put your hands out.
Put my hands up.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just like this, and then you roll it down.
Now, some have another thing that goes across here, or they have a little vest, or do they?
Sometimes I think it's more practical things, you know, to carry the sarong, and sometimes it has a double function as a blanket, actually. Yeah. In Indonesia, Islam is the largest, and then Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, and then Confucius.
Confucianism?
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah. Yes. And that's after our fourth president, actually.
I see.
Yeah.
But isn't there also an indigenous religion among the various tribal peoples,
Yes.
different language groups, and they have their own special practices such as courtship practices, funeral practices, rituals, and also weaponry. There's a vast array of weaponry. The kris, I believe, is considered one of the more sacred ones.
Yeah, that's Keris is mostly in Central Java, and some of the mostly the people in Central Java, the tradition, the older generation probably they still believe in that. And
They believe there's a spirit in the
Yes.
thing, and they also believe that if you get cut or with some of these, you will die because they are considered poisons.
Yes, yes,
Because I think they used to put some
some
on the
poison,
blade.
yeah. And then
You know, and some of these are very rare and expensive, and some are you can find in other museums around the world. They're very valuable.
More of the volcanic ash that's still left over. I'll walk over to the other side. Indonesians have gotten around the bridge by cutting through with their motorcycles. You can see the road is totally cut off. And how the volcanic ash and the dust still here cut right through. And here's the end of the road and the bridge where it all went out. This actually is one of my favorite locations to go. It's in Central Java. It's near, the name of it's Mount Merapi, and it is near the Indonesian's fourth largest city on the map, Yogyakarta, but the locals in the country call it Jogja. And it's about a couple hours drive away, not a couple hours in terms of our highways here, but all little local winding roads. And it's quite huge. They have a lovely golf course below it that I've played. That was my first kind of introduction to Mount Merapi. The front nine goes right at the volcano.
Really?
And the back nine goes away. And I didn't think much about it. And on the back nine, I was looking at choosing a club for on this hole, and I heard a rumble of thunder. And I looked up, and it was clear blue sky, not a cloud in the sky. And Hani was with me, but I asked the caddy, I said, what was that? And she said to me, oh, mountain is angry.
For you playing.
Yeah, and the rest of the holes on the back nine, I kept looking over my shoulder at this thing.
See if
And
it was going
it
to
smokes.
erupt.
It's like a smokestack that keeps going, and occasionally there's a rumble. Sometimes it's in a cloud, and so you really can't see it as well. This last trip last summer, we were there for 2 months, and we went through the mountains, not only through, there was Merapi on one side, then 2 other volcanoes through this valley we were driving through. The other 2 weren't doing anything, but Merapi was
Still rumbling
was
and
smoking.
grumbling.
And this is a couple pictures of,
Merapi.
that's Merapi, if you want to hold that up, both of these, different views. Now it's erupting right there, it's spilling out
And this is
lava.
this is not erupting
No,
exactly.
that's
Friendlier.
Yeah, that's what it looks like, quote, normal.
Normal. And people actually live in nearby.
Yes.
and
Right,
everything.
Yes.
right below the peak.
Well, actually, after the last eruption, 2000,
10 or 11.
yeah.
In traveling to Indonesia, you obviously go by air.
Yes.
As shortest. What would say? Where do you start out from here in the U.S.? What airport? What is your basic itinerary in getting there? Do you have stops? Do you continue continuous flight? How does it work?
I can give it to you pretty quick. Our starting point is always Boston. The total air time we were actually flying is anywhere from 24 to 30 hours. You're actually in the air. And they're in segments. If we go west, it's Boston to Los Angeles to Hong Kong, that can be 14 to 17 hours nonstop across the Pacific. And then from Hong Kong to Jakarta, which is another 4.5 hours. If we go east, there are 2 ways that we have gone. One is from Boston to Kennedy, from Kennedy to Frankfurt, that's about 6-7 hours, and then from Frankfurt, Germany to Jakarta.
Singapore first.
To Singapore, excuse me.
12
It's about
hours.
12 hours, and then another hour or 2 from Singapore to Jakarta. This last summer, when we were there, we went from Boston to Dubai, which was 12 hours, and then from Dubai to Jakarta, which was 8 hours.
A lot here. Is there anything in closing for now that you would like to say about Indonesia and let people know about from you, and also Bill, your impressions?
Well, we'll let her end it because that's her country. Indonesia is very exotic. Most of the people, as I was saying to you earlier, I'm not sure where it is. It's in Africa? No. Some people know it's in Southeast Asia, but it takes up a vast area, and when you think of Southeast Asia, you think of Thailand, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia. It's its own entity because it has so many islands. The country's made up of 17,000 islands, 3,000 of which are inhabited, and the biggest, as Hani mentioned earlier, is Sumatra, Sulawesi, Kalimantan, better known as Borneo, Java,
And that's the
Papua.
9th.
Papua. And
Kalimantan, the Borneo
yeah,
is the ninth
it's,
largest.
if you flew from one end to the other, it could be probably a 6-hour, 7-hour flight. It's very vast. It goes all the way from Singapore, just across from Singapore, all the way over to Australia, the width of it, if you were to fly. Everybody knows Bali, but Bali is just one of the 3,000 inhabited islands. There are other islands that are even more exotic, much cheaper to go to because they're not as touristic. And I have found it's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. The people are very gentle and passive people.
Until they were aroused.
Until they're aroused, yes.
Yeah,
When they had their revolution in 1946-47 to free themselves of the Dutch colonization. But they're very gentle, kind, open people. I really, really enjoy it. Jakarta is becoming very westernized. It's just a teeming place. As I mentioned earlier, you could put probably 3 or 4 New York cities into it.
Really?
It's just day and night, it's solid. I mean, you can sit in a traffic jam and go a block an hour. I kind of learned the Indonesian alphabet and how to count to 10 in a taxi trying to go 1 block. Once you get outside Jakarta, it's really an amazing place. And the people really when they hear our accent, there's a lot of Australians that go there, a lot of Brits, other English people that do speak English, even though that's not their main language, the Dutch, the Germans, Italians, and so on. But when they hear our accent, they want to practice English with you. They're by and large, they're very good at languages. Hani speaks several. I just really enjoy there. It's a very peaceful place to go. The beauty, just getting used to the food. You asked me before, satay I like, I have to watch the spices, but there's a thing called beef rendang that's indigenous to Sumatra, bahun goreng, which is kind of a noodles thing, right? And nasi goreng, which is, nasi is rice. And they'll have
How about
some
durian and
vegetables.
some of the...
Durian, I will not get near that.
How about some of the other fruits? There must be others.
Yep,
that you-
jackfruit, what other fruit? Rambutan, longan. There's one that they leave in the hotel for you. I just love it. It's kind of about
Salad.
Salad. It's about this big. It's brown, and you peel it off. You know, it's kind of tough, but not tough to peel. But the skin is, and then all of a sudden it opens up, and there's this white meat inside as a fruit, and it is awesome. It is awesome. I can't get. They only leave 2 on the, when they've made up the room. How about a few more? And it's also good for the digestive system. The fruit that they have, of course, there's papaya. They look like huge footballs, and mango everywhere. Mango is like we would see apples in New England or out in Washington State. But a lot of them have medical qualities for the digestive system, to do this and do that, things that help. That we just go, oh, that's really good, and they'll say, well, that does this, or that enhances something in the body.
So it seems that you will be going back to Indonesia in future years.
Yes.
Continue. Do you have any plans to visit other islands besides the one that you really go to? You plan
I'd like to go to Madura, which is part of Hani's family background. We usually go to Java. Her home, she grew up on East Java, near Surabaya, right across from Bali. We go to Central Java, and Sumatra, we visit her sister, and she lives in a city called Pekanbaru. We have been to the island of Lombok. Lombok is the next island east of Bali, and it's like Bali was 30 years ago. Unspoiled, beautiful beaches. A lot of the Australians discovered it for surfing on one side of the island, where the Indian Ocean goes, and then on the Java Sea, which is a much gentler body of water or ocean. That's where we have stayed, and it's just, it's really gorgeous and very peaceful. It's like the world stops. No politics, no nothing. It's just.
Well, I think that's what people would like, but of course, when you get into various larger areas where there's a lot of trade and commerce and globalization, you get away from the basic life, and you get involved in all of these
Other things.
controversies.
Even the
and
Indonesians
everything.
will vacation on Lombok.
Really?
The Indonesians know it well. A lot of them, when I'll meet them, and if they're speaking English, they'll say, "Oh, have you been to Lombok?"
So let me interrupt you, Bill.
Yep, go ahead, Hani.
And Hani, I'd like you to give the last words. What do you want us to know about Indonesia, most of all?
What I want to say is, I hope that our discussion today will give a better understanding about Indonesia, and I will suggest that people will visit Indonesia to witness themselves what is in Indonesia.
Well, thank you very much. Thank
welcome.
you for
Thank
coming,
you.
and thank you, Bill.
Thank you, sir.
And we'll have a follow-up here sometime and talk on some other aspects of things that we didn't talk about here today.
I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you very much.